everybody. I am so glad to have with me today DaJuan Johnson. Hi, DaJuan.
Hi.
And not for so many reasons. First of all, because he's fabulously successful as an actor, and because I know how he shows up also for other actors and creatives and what he's able to do for them. And so I'm going to really grill him and give it to him hard today to make him tell us all about these things. And he's given me really kind of free reign to go there. But I just want to first,
I dare you. I dare you. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm going to try really hard. I'm breaking a sweat. So first, I want to just roll through a few credits to make us all feel both envious and excited for you for a second, right? So I'm just going to hit a few of the highlights. Narcos, Grey's Anatomy, 7 seasons on Bosch, Suits, Agent Carter, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Bones, Prime Suspect, CSI, Scrubs, Criminal Minds, like it goes on and on and on. Now, here's the tough question for you, DaJuan.
Mm-hmm.
Audra McDonald, Tessa Thompson, or Katherine Heigl?
Wow. All powerhouses.
Yeah.
Right? All powerhouses. You know, I think it would fall somewhere, but between Tessa Thompson, because I have the most memorable moments on set with her. Right. I can't say before she was Tessa Thompson, but I played her husband on Private Practice. And, you know, she was just so giving back then. I mean, that was almost a decade ago. Back then, she was so giving. She was so present. She was so like just sharing with me as an actor, because I think she had been on, oh gosh, I want to say Veronica Mars by then or something. Okay. And so this was like my, I don't know, 4th or 5th credit. And she was just like, no, we do it this way, or this is what they mean. You only have to look at it. And I just remember just being so touched by that experience, and then to see her skyrocket has been, amazing. Definitely Tessa Thompson.
Awesome. And I just want to tell everyone, if you want to see this gorgeous scene with him and Tessa, it's on your reel, and I think it's also on IMDb and on your website. Like, you can see this scene, and you can see that would be a scene where you want to have a partner who is that willing to go there for you, because you had to go in a guest star role like that, DaJuan. I want to ask you about this, where you have to push back against the series regulars. Like, you're in an argument with the series regulars. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like for you on set?
Well, back then it was fine, right? Because one of the things that I think we do as actors, as we go on, we start to, well, sometimes I should say, we start to really understand the hierarchy of things, Brian. And so then we get a little bit more reserved about how to treat people. But when we're starting out, I didn't really understand the difference. I was like, this is an acting scene, and I'm going to just like riff and go at this person. I didn't really understand it. Like, Audra McDonald was like number 2 on the call sheet, or like, Kate Walsh I didn't really get it like that. So I was like, we're in an acting class. I'm going to show you I can act. And this is my world, which I think really serves you at that juncture of your career. All of it really, just because we're all in the same sandbox. But I didn't think too much about it. And I think that serves me as we go on in my career, right? Because when I still bring that to set, whether you're number 1, 2, 3, 4, 27, 67, whatever on the call sheet, I still think that we're in the same sandbox when they say action. When they say action, we're in the same cut. Might be you might go to that bigger trailer, or you might go in a different place and we can't talk. But when we're there to do something. And I still carry that, throughout my whole entire career, I think.
That is an incredible reflection, because I'm just walking myself through imagining going on set, like, and now I'm going to have a fight with you, and I'm going to kind of win this fight. Because in the scene, just to give you all context, DaJuan is kind of like having an argument with, Kate Walsh and Audra McDonald. And so to like be the one in that position, can you take us back to like the first time, your first guest star, and what that was like?
Yeah. I think that was my first guest star.
Well, oh, you're kidding me. DaJuan,
no, I really think.
Wow.
I think that was my first guest star. And everybody listening, I think that was my first guest star because Will Stewart, who was the casting director on that, pushed for me to get guest star billing, because I was a recurring co-star on that. And when they brought me back, he was like, we're gonna get you guest star billing. And thank heavens for that angel in my corner. But again, we get so caught up in the billing of things because that's what we're told to do. But let me just explain to you, I don't care if you are a recurring co-star, top of show guest star, whatever, you have the same job to do. to effing kill it. That is your job. What we do is we let agents or bad manager or bad whatever. And I'm using the word bad lightly, so don't come for me, anybody. But we let those people dictate like this billing, this hierarchy. And now I have to go sit over in this corner and not do a great job because I'm a co-star. No, I want you all to step into your destiny and step boldly, because that next one is going to be the thing that gets you there, and it's going to be so great. So sorry.
Yeah, no, DaJuan, please get on the soapbox, because this is so important. I think it's so easy to let the credit decide who you're supposed to be. Well, how big of an artist are you supposed to be decides what billing you get. And I mean, just as we're saying the word bigger, and think bigger is your coaching, the coaching process that you work through and that you do. Can you tell us how the name came to you and what that means to you?
Colleen Foy, who is also a acting coach in town, Los Angeles. And I used to work at a studio, Stanker Studios, when I was an acting teacher. I was in acting school and I did this. And as I was transitioning to this place where I wanted to be more of this human in the world, right? I guess we can say coach, we can put on those that after my name or whatever, but I wanted to show up as this spirit in the world more. We started to come up with things that would like work and all that. And I just said, I just want people to think bigger. I just want to think, and Colleen was like, why don't you make that part of your name? And I was like, think bigger. And that's how it took root. It was literally that organic.
Got it. And when I love what you just said is I wanted to be this human. What I just tapped into or like had an intuition around is like, sometimes when you're an actor, you can think like, well, I'm an actor and everything else I do doesn't count.
Right.
Like, because it can't, because I'm doing that just to make money or to make my living. When you're saying that, it sounds like there's someone that plugged you into the rest of yourself by saying bigger to coaching. So when you're coaching for someone else, it doesn't quite feel the same as like, this is my coaching mission. When you say that around think bigger, and I get that you said that think bigger is the mission. What is the thing that you want actors to know the most, do you think?
Well, I mean, that we're enough, period. I mean, we can stop the conversation there, that we are enough. I wanted to get into coaching this way because, and this might not be your question, but what I wanted to do was tap into all of that stuff on the inside that we were ignoring, that we were worried about, like, oh, if I get up and do this scene, is my agent going to drop me or not? Or if I do this, I'm worried about like, is this role already given out? Or I'm worried about like just all that other stuff. And I was like, that's the stuff that's going to like get you out of this job. It's desperation. That's stuff that's going to block you out. And so I wanted to zero in. When I was an acting coach, I used to like see that stuff. And I was like, that's the stuff I want to work on. That's the stuff that's going to give you longevity in this career, but also like make you happy. Brian, you probably know this. There were so many actors that we come in contact with that, yes, they want the agent, right? Yes, they want the next bigger role or whatever, but they're just not happy. And like, what if there's a way to get both? What if there's a way to like, go through life and be happy and be fulfilled and call in, I'm using that word on purpose, call in a bigger agent manager role and all that stuff at the same time. What if we could do that? Yeah. What if we could do that? And that's what I wanted to work on. So I really just think, just to bring it back, that's how I wanted to show up and think bigger with other actors. I wanted to really work on the inside stuff, just all over. That's what I want to do.
I love what you said here, DaJuan, because I love that you're like, when I was coaching actors, I would notice like, this has nothing to do with the character's thoughts or what's going on for the character at all, but it was showing up when you were coaching them. And so you're like, there's something else. You like, we're so clear. Like there's something else going on here that I'm not meant to work on as the acting coach right now, but I'm meant to work on in some way if they're going to really show up in the way that they want to. And I love you're like, this is about shutting out that noise that is why you don't belong here, why this job isn't good enough. And you and I, when you said that, we interact with actors who we can tell are unhappy and we know they're not going to book. Yeah. Because their spark is dimmed, and my heart breaks for them. I'm not saying like you're not happy, you should be happy. That's not actually that's not good coaching, right? But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I love that that's where it came from. So, okay, I so want to talk about your acting still, and I want to talk about your coaching. But here's when I want to go first, right?
So let's talk about intertwined.
I know it is so much. So let's talk about coaching for just a little more. Okay. So when you are, what's like your perfect client? When I describe like what kind of is the actor that you love to help? When you see this in an actor, you're like, oh my God, I know I can help them.
When I see an actor that is more aligned with the possibility than the conflict, or that is more aligned with the hope, the joy, the love of it, than aligning themselves with the overwhelm, the desperation, the all that stuff. You can just see it. When you can just see it, that's when I think it's kind of beautiful. I know that's kind of like, oh, that's bigger, but I think we have to have a bigger conversation about this instead of just saying, oh, I want somebody with like 3 credits. Yeah. Oh, I want somebody who's like, who has a top tier agent, all that stuff. No, I want somebody who I love working with actors who want to really dwell in the world of possibilities, because it's all started. Everything anybody's ever done has started with hope, has started with a dream, has started with like nerve.
Yes.
Right? Like has started there, and they are aligned with, I understand there might be setbacks. I understand there might be obstacles. I understand there might be, boo-hoos, but I'm going to get back on that horse and go in this direction of my hope and my possibility. And not just like, oops, how'd I get here?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because the oops, how did I get here one is like, I believe in mystery and magic, which is not the same as believing in miracles, I think.
Yes.
So what I liked about what you said, though, is it's like, if they can see the possibility, they don't have to feel that way every dang day. Nope. But if they can see it, then I know I can help them build a habit. Like that's where I'm seeing you as your zone of genius as a coach is. I can help them build a habit where they dwell there more often, and then they book more and they attract more work and all the great things happen. And they're thinking bigger. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
a lot of people, real quick, and a lot of people come to me and they're like, I want these tangible steps. I want, DaJuan, you're talking too big and vision. And you're giving me this and I feel good. But here's the thing. I can give you tangible steps as soon as we start working together. But if we do not work on your mindset, if we do not work on that inside stuff first, the first obstacle you hit on that tangible action step, you'll slingshot back here and you'll say, see, I know it didn't work. Well, your mindset wasn't right. That's what's happening. And so everybody looks at me, they're like, oh, DaJuan, you're a certified coach and you get it. You've like had these successes. No, the only thing is do not make me extraordinary. I say it all the time because that lets you off the hook, right? All I have that maybe you don't have is more tools in my toolbox, right? I lay on my floor and want to cry often. I didn't get a lot of roles during this pilot season that I wanted often, but it's like, great. Now, what do I want to do with that emotion? What do I want to do with that feeling? And it's nothing to do with toxic positivity. I'm not that. I'm actually not a positive person.
Nice try. Nice try. He says with this huge smile. If you could all see him right now. Like the biggest smile you've ever seen.
It's because I think what people think is like, you're positive, you walk around happy all day. I come from a very troubled past. I think you do too, Brian. We carry the weight of our caboose. We carry that with us, but we just learn to like really relate to it differently. Right? That's it. And so when people are like, you're so positive, no, I can tell you some things that I have to deal with on a daily basis, but I start dealing with them differently. I start shifting my mindset. It's an active practice every single day. That's why I get up at 6 a.m. and meditate. That's why my morning routine is, tea and coffee and all that stuff like that. That's why 6 months out of the year, I'm not drinking, or longer, because I got to get myself together.
You also
didn't ask any of that. You didn't ask any of that.
No, and you also just pissed me off because I'm like, your freaking morning routine, and where's my morning routine? And but then I was also like, he has tea and coffee. Like I was just like, well, now we're all pissed off because we need our morning routine. So great. So wait, let's pause. Commercial break. Do you, when you're working with clients, ever be like, hey, I think some practice or routine in your life could help you? Are there certain things that are always the go-to? Like, why don't we try this, this, and this? Are there ever answers you give that? Can you give us a little insight? Don't worry. We know yours might not be the same as ours.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the big things. What you just said is key, that my routine is not going to be your routine. But what a lot of people, I'll just say people in general, what we do is we start with, as soon as I say I get up at 6 a.m., the immediate reaction, a lot of people is, I'm not a morning person. I can't do that. Well, you just told yourself you can't do it. So guess what's going to happen? Your brain's going to actively seek out information to affirm that. Right. And so you can't do it. So if you don't want to get up at 6 a.m. like I do, then can you get up at 7 a.m., 6:55, whatever it is. And I wasn't always a morning person. I started gradually getting up at that time. Now more so because I have kids, but because I need to have quiet to still start my day in the way I want to start it. right? Not in the swirl, the whirlpool of my kids, my family. I want to start it a certain way. So I can't say that there's any go-tos, right, that are amazing. Like I try very hard when I coach, when I work with people, when I work with actors, when I work with, industry pros, when I work with them, I try very hard not to make it cookie cutter. And I'll say something like, here's something that's worked for me, or here's something that's worked for some other clients. How can we, mold this to you? Does this work for you? Right. And again, if you are more in the resistance than the possibility that there's something different, there's something that I want that I could get, then it's harder, right? But if you're in the okay, maybe if I got up like 5 minutes earlier, right? So that's something. But I think a lot of us, myself included, we get torpedoed, we get tanked in our habits, we get tanked in our routines. That's what tanks us, right? Instead of being mindful of okay, I got to go to this phone or I got to scroll, instead of let me just go sit and read. I'm reading Boundaries right now, right? Setting Boundaries is a book on that. If you could just read one page of Setting Boundaries, then you can go to your Instagram feed, right?
Love it. I love you. If you read one page of the book about not setting a boundary, then it's about a boundary, then you can it's a real good cycle there. I like that. That's great. Yes. And I love what you said that, we have to find our own. Inherent in what you're saying, DaJuan, is a belief that the person sitting in front of you, whether you call them a client or an actor or whatever, is creative, resourceful, and whole, and they will know the best answer for themselves better than you will, and that your job as a coach is to lead them to the precipice of making that decision or being at choice or choosing something different. I think that is so...
Speak on it, Brian. Speak
on it. But wait, there's something else you said that I just want to you said something so beautiful, and I want to make sure you even know this, is in A Course in Miracles, which is the programming that I took to become a reverend, right? One of the things that's inside the book and in the theology of it is, I have nothing you don't have. I just don't have anything else. And so that anything else to me is the baggage we pick up along the way. We hold on to I'm not a morning person. We hold on to, my dad wasn't nice to me. We held on to, I'm from a single parent family, whatever those journeys are. And it's not to say there isn't trauma or there isn't therapy to be done or work, but that it can become so you can boundary yourself inside of a box. And so I love what you said here, that's how the resistance starts to tinkle out and come out and getting in the way of stuff. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think a lot of coaches or a lot of people out there speak into the lack, right? I really try to speak into the hope of people, right? And I know people we're as because of acting schools or acting teachers, and I've been there. We're used to people telling us how wrong we are. I'm not here for that. And I tell everybody, don't make me into that guy in your head. Right. I'm not co-signing on that. That's not what I'm very deliberate with my words. And if I'm not, I want to apologize. If that's how that made you feel, here's what I meant. And so I come to the table with the idea that you're whole. Let's just shine a spotlight on the things that we want and let's amplify that, right? Because right now that gremlin is leading the way.
Yeah. And I love what you say just about the understanding that someone is whole, being there and being witness for your wholeness makes you so much more capable, I think, or willing to believe in your capability. Beautiful. So, okay, talk to me about acting again. I'm bouncing around over here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If DaJuan was painting the exact acting career that was happening for him, so here's one of the things I want to make sure we hold that you said earlier before we go there, which is everything is exactly as it should be right now. And you're allowed to want more. The paradox is wanting more for yourself at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I believe the universe is always holding for you, that everything is exactly as it should be. And I even want more for you at the same time. So as you think about this, if you're dreaming about the career you desire, that you picture for yourself, what comes up for you?
Oh, I think it's so great because that's a great question. What we don't allow ourselves to do as actors enough that I love to do is sit in the manifestation or the vision of it all longer, really just sit in it and just oh my God, when I walk on the Paramount lot, I can see, the water tower. I can walk around oh my God, hey, how you just really sit in it. And I really kind of have sat in a lot of this before. Where I'm going, and my team knows it. anybody who's listened to me before on my, lives or anything knows that I want to do superhero. I wanted to do superhero slash dad, right? Like dad or husband show up in this world. I really want to play in that fantasy world. Before, those two things were separate for me. And I was like, oh, I want to be like this awesome detective that has this amazing backstory where he has a little bit of edge. Like, is he a good or bad? We don't know what's going on. And, but then I was like, and I also want to do the supernatural because I've always been, that's the kid in me. One of those reasons why I started acting. And I had a casting director not too long ago say, DaJuan, those can be the same. And I was like, what? Mind blowing. You can be the same. And so I've really been merging those two worlds of like, this is where I'm going. So much so that when I sat in the, I guess we'll just call it boardroom with my current reps, and there's like 10 of them. They're like, where do you want to be? They all know that I want to do superhero. They all know where I want to go next. Right. And so when I get an audition, they're kind of like, it's for, and I'm like, and it's good. And but that's exciting. They're excited because they know where I want to go. I'm excited because I know I'm in alignment there. Now, what I want to say to everybody out there listening, when you get specific, because what we think sometimes is when we get specific, when we tell the universe that this is the direction that I want to go, yes, we are telling that's the journey. That's where I want to be. That doesn't mean that I can't take these other things if I choose to, right? Preach. So we think that if we be specific, that I can't say all that stuff because it's going to take me out. That's not how the universe works. It's such a beautiful, bountiful. Like I it's just like it's just not basic. We reduce the universe and God down to such a basic idea of what we think of as a human level. Well, we've already had 10 helpings, so we can't have an 11th. Yeah. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. And so I might have gotten off track here.
No,
but I was called for it.
I think you did a beautiful job. Because I think what you're saying so beautifully is sometimes like, well, if I say I want to do film, then that means I'm not going to get TV. Or if I say film, then I can't really pursue theater anymore. Like it's almost like you can only have a permission slip in one area. And I'm going to use a sports analogy, which I never do. So I won't really get excited. Do it. Hopefully I'll do okay. So the way I like to think of it is the universe is the quarterback. And you are running to catch the ball. Well, if the universe can see where you're going, then the universe can throw the ball at you. But if you are running all over the field and going this way and doing this thing and doing that thing and not really saying anything or being clear on where you're headed, it has no way of knowing how to throw that ball to you. Whatever that ball is going to be, whether it is exactly the job you just described or it's another awesome opportunity, whatever, it does not know where you're going. When the universe knows where you're going, it knows how to give you opportunities. I think. Yeah.
Yes.
So I love that way that you described it. Yeah. So wait, I have a question. Where does DaJuan get intimidated? Because when you describe that room of a bunch of agents sitting there, I think a lot of us went to like, oh, well, that might be one place where he feels a little, okay, I have to show up today and I'm going to wear my good outfit and I look good today. Like, is there a space where you feel like you get intimidated?
Well, you do have to show up. Right. We do get to show up and with our nice suit on or our nice, clothes on or whatever, but that doesn't mean we have to put on a different suit. I'm using that word different. I have to zip up and like, I can still show up as DaJuan. That boardroom of 10 people sitting around me because they filed in too. And I was like, oh my God, that boardroom was a part of it, was intimidating-ish. But here's what I know to be true. When you work so hard to be in your destiny, when you work so hard to be in alignment, it is time to show the F up, right? And it is time not to let all of something else, a moment that really isn't about that moment, like torpedo that moment. I sat in that moment and I remember this so vividly, putting my hand as like a home base on that boardroom and just sitting and being like, I am here in this moment. I've worked so hard to be in a room full of 10 agents telling me that they know my work. How dare I sit there and talk down about myself? Try to like, what do you do when you torpedo yourself? You're like, oh, at least I'm not this. I'm not there. That's what we're not going to do, and show up in this space, because people want to work with people like they want to hop on a moving train. They don't have to like build me up at that place. And so, I get intimidated there, and I get intimidated when I go into, any type of like big audition, like a big thing. But you have to talk yourself. You have to remember, like, this is the stuff that we've been working so hard for. This is why we coach beforehand, right? This is why we have all these moments of before I get on set. Yes, I'm going to be working with Titus Welliver. Yes, there's going to be, all these other people coming on set. Yes, I'm going to work opposite Brad Pitt, all that stuff. But here's the thing. This is when the work that you did before it really comes into play.
I love what you say here, because it's so clear. Like I always say, you can't show up in one of those meetings or that room or that set hustling for your own worthiness and there to do a job at the same time.
Well, I love that.
And it's going to put, like you said, everybody's tells are different. Like some people will get, I'm going to be really funny, or I get really quiet, or like I talk too much, or whatever those things are that come up for you. And I love what you're talking about, being in relationship with yourself so that you can say, you've earned this. You've earned this audition. You've earned this being on set. You are, this is rightful that it is here. And so now if that's the truth, how do you now get to show up? What permission do you need to give yourself? I love that's it. And also I love that you had that meeting. I mean, yes, I love that so much for you.
It's a good one. Can I just say that I think, just in case anybody has a relationship with the word earn, right?
Oh, yes,
like
please.
That I just want to say that you all are amazing. We all are amazing. We all, that word is just know that we are all here to fulfill, and we're sitting in our destiny. Because I know there's a lot of people who work extremely freaking hard at this career and don't always get their flowers or on stage. And so I guess when we use the word earn, for me, I guess I would just want to shift it, reframe it a little bit of like, when you have showed up, right? When this is in front of you, this is your destiny to step boldly in that moment. Is that okay? Like,
oh my God, I'm so glad you made the clarification, because as the word was coming out of her mouth, I was like, is everyone going to get what I mean when I say this? And then we just clarified it. So because one of the things you're talking about is I remember this in my career when I was doing a lot of commercials, and I was on a plane on my way to shoot in Vancouver. And I remember being on the plane and being like, whoa, Brian, you're not just shooting a job. Let's just take a second here and be grateful for how have you helped meet your destiny or meet the universe right here. And you can say, well, I set up my life to be able to be available to auditions. Like I set up my life to be able to know how to do a commercial thing. I know how to do a commercial thing. I took headshots a while ago that like are pretty good. Like I just said, let me just take stock of how I've met the universe's wishes, the blessings for me,
yes.
Which isn't the same as like what you said, like a meritocracy belief of like, when you do this much work, you're always going to get this thing out of it, which is what I think is what we're trying to take away from this, right? You've earned the right to be an actor because something told you to be an actor. That's the end of the story. Yes. Thank you for that. Okay. So I want to, as we're talking about this, you and I talked about this a little bit before we got on the call today, so we could have this conversation, and it's not an easy one. And so I'm going to do the best I can here, but this past year, 2020, the year before 2020 is a year that really shined a light on racism, anti-racism, the whole gamut, right? Mm-hmm. And as a man who is seen as part of the BIPOC community, I'm imagining, and you can tell me, Brian, this is not right. Please pay no attention to the peacocks screaming in the background, everyone. They're just shouting out at us right now because my neighborhood has wild peacocks. So are you getting an extra light, even in this moment, as I ask this question, I'm shining the light I'm asking about, an extra light shown on you or shined on you, or that you're hearing from clients or from the business? And are you willing to share what that's like with us, since we talked about this beforehand? So I know this is an okay conversation. Yeah.
And to be clear, everybody that Brian's saying we talked about beforehand, he just mentioned, is it okay to ask this question? And I said, let's talk about it live.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know what I'm going to say.
I know.
But, yes, I personally have felt more called to show up in this space differently as an actor, as a coach, as a dad, as a human, to show up differently. It has not been lost on me that I am one of the only, if not, I can't really think of, Black males in our acting coach circle, life coaching circle, doing this specific thing. And so I take that very, it's very important to me. It's not something I'm like, oh, cool, let's just say black guy, no, I don't take it lightly is what I want to say. I try to make sure that how I show up, I understand that I'm showing up as a black man, right? I am going to say some of the things that that I think need to be said. I'm going to use my platform, whether that's as an actor or whether that's as a coach, to say some of the things that I feel like are not right. I'm just going to do it. There was an instance where I had with my Think Bigger Summit that a piece of not great stuff happened, and it made me extremely aware of what I just mentioned, that I don't want to be this person that shows up in this space and not give people of color their own, their way to speak, their way to work with me, their way to be left behind. I'm going to show up in a totally different way. I'm always offering, free something classes or I'm just showing up differently since June. I should have been showing up before that, right? But as we talked about Black Lives Matter, how it became really big, the George Floyd, like all of that, like I just really started being very intentional about how I was showing up in the space as a black man. I think one of the things that I thought, and one of the things that I am very aware of trying not to do, is understanding that just because I'm a black male, that I have all the answers. I don't. I'm going to step in it the same way you might be worried about stepping in it. How is this going to land? How do I want to show? I have to go back to those intentions and my values all the time. And yeah, that's the big thing. And I think the last thing I'll add to that, I don't know if I said anything, but is I went really big on, and I did a big DEI podcast. I don't know if you saw like a 5 episode DEI podcast, because I also wanted to make sure that if you are like, what am I saying? There's some inherent biases that I have, or there's some maybe possible racist things that I say, or things that I don't use the correct pronouns all the time. And so I want to show up the way I want other people to show up as well too. So that was a big answer for it, but it's not lost on me. And I've had a lot of actors who are people of color who have come to me and said, I want to work with you because you are, the only one in this. And I'm like, great, let's work, or the money to work with you yet, because we price people out. Like sometimes, great, let's work. Let's figure out how we can do that. So I've been really, really aware of all of that.
I'm just so grateful that you were willing to share what that's been like for you with such honesty with us. And I say that personally, and I say that also for the audience right now, because I think there's a desire to show up. There's a desire to do the work right, and also to get to know DaJuan better right now. That is a piece of what's going on in your world. So it felt like if we didn't talk about this, we were doing a disservice to what's your experiences like right now. So I appreciate that.
And I think, Brian, like I'm not going to do any like heavy lifting for anybody, right? Like I'm not going to re-traumatize myself to take anybody through an experience that I don't want to take anybody through, right? I won't do that, because that's basically asking me to do the work that I think everybody else should be doing if they really, really, really want to. But here's the thing. It's running parallel with my values and my intentions of being a leader and a coach in this world, right? That's how I have been called to show up, and I feel like I am on purpose. So that when I say I did a DEI podcast, that's me choosing to jump into that pool of, let me tell you what it was like to be the only Black person in this space. Let me tell you, so that I can help educate the masses on my own terms, in that way. And so, as a coach, as a leader, it was very vulnerable. It was very scary to do one of those things, but to jump into how can I show up for all of our community? How do we show up? But I also knew that, like, if I want change, I get to be the agent of change as well. And I have to understand, and I try to hold close to my chest that I'm going to step in doo-doo. It's just gonna happen, and I'm trying not to. I think we're all trying not to. But if we want to be in the game, we have to understand that we might step in some.
Yeah, I just think what you said here, and it reminds me so much of acting in a way, and I don't mean to make the parallel quite the same, but when you are stepping into an audition room, where you're going to an audition or you're meeting with a manager, agent, all those things, is the willingness that you have to be seen, the willingness that you have to share, and to be willing to make a mistake, to put skin in the game around this is just so clear and evident. And I'm going to just advocate for anyone going to listen to that series. I know it made you feel vulnerable, but it sounds like it's one that we should all try to listen to, or listen to again, even to get a better picture into you and also what your own journey has been like. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I did it from a different way, right? And I'm just saying I did it from, let me tell the story about me growing up, because we talk about diversity, growing up and where I got from college, how I got to coaching, how I got to acting. And we do it from a DEI lens instead of, let me give you here's a microaggression. Here's what diversity means. I wanted to come at it at a way that Brian, the way that we talk to our community, right? Through our stories, we are also teaching. Instead of like, let me just do it this way. I was like, how do this is how I want to show up. I'll tell you more about me. So I think that way inherently is more vulnerable, because I'm telling you about me as little DaJuan. I'm telling you about me, in my neighborhood as a kid. So,
right. And I love what you said that, because you said yourself, like, I had my own biases and my own thoughts over here that I probably wanted to unpack. And this way you were hopefully looking at it and working on it in a language that you would then be able to bring to your people, which is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Like, bring it to your audience, right? Which is so powerful. That's awesome. So thank you so much for sharing it. I'm going to go listen again. So I hope everyone knows. So I want to go back to something here around acting and coaching. And can you tell us a little bit more about the actual, what Think Bigger is, so that everyone gets a good sense of what that company does and what it does for the world?
Yeah, I might have mentioned this before, that I am a certified life coach, and that used to bartend, and I used to love bartending. I love it. But what I like to do is work with actors on getting to their goals faster. I help them skip the line, as the shirt you're seeing me see. I don't know if this is going to be a visual on YouTube or something like that, so I had to look cute. But I really want to work on helping actors, like I said, skip the line and get to your dreams faster, get to your goals faster. Because I believe when I was first starting out, there was nobody there to help me skip that line. I remember wanting to sit with working actors. I remember so where do I go to get an agent? How do I go? I didn't have all of that. And I had to throw a lot of spaghetti up against the wall. And I think that's what we do here in these spaces. We help actors skip the line.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. So to help everybody, if they want to learn more about it, where should they go for that? Can you just tell them?
Thinkbiggercoaching.com or anything Think Bigger. I'm trying to monopolize the Think Bigger, Think Bigger Summit, Think Bigger Tribe, Think Bigger Podcast.
Got it. Okay, great. It's going to be it's going to Think Bigger TM is what we're going to have.
That's right. I'm working on it.
A big TM, actually. So is there anything today that you really wanted to talk about that we didn't talk about?
Brian, I don't believe so, right? Because I think one of the things that I love about you is, and love about how I show up, that anything that we were supposed to talk about really came through here in this time. And I trust and believe that. And I think the cool thing about us is, what people might not know, is I have always been very intimidated by you. That's an intimidation, right? Look at that. Because Brian, you're such a powerhouse. Wow. You are such a wonderful force in this world. And you've been doing this coaching in this space and working with actors in this way that, one can only dream to be like, right? The way you show up. And, when you get in front of Brian, you got to make sure you come correct. Because he's going to see it, and he's going to at any moment going to call you out on it. And I love the way, I love that, period. One, that's just the period. But part two is I love the way you show up for our community. And so, that makes me automatically want to up my game if I'm going to be in front of you. So,
I was not expecting a love letter today. So I just really I don't blush often, but I will just share that I am blushing right now. So, so I really want to take that in. So thank you for saying that. And I promise that no intimidation. Oh, door always open, right? But I understand what you mean when you say that. Yes.
Yes. And I guess the last thing I would just say is kids. I always like to talk about my kids, and you see me talk about it in any live I do or just wherever I am. I try to talk about, like, you know, how hard it is as a father, how great it is as a dad, you know, whatever that is, because I think about it as a little bit of a love letter to actors out there who have thought that they had to wait, right, to do this. I got to wait till I get this. I got to wait till I do this. I got to wait till all those things. And I talk about owning a home in Los Angeles. I talk about that not to say, oh, look at me, I have kids. Oh, look at me, I own a home. I talk about it that way because we don't have to wait for all of that stuff. I was not on Bosch, you know, when all of this is like, I think my boys came like my first year. I didn't know there was going to be 7 seasons of Bosch, right? I just knew that there was other dreams that I had that were also being deferred, or if I may say that, or being put on hold while I pursued this career. And I was like, why do I have to wait? I literally just had that thought. Why do I have to wait? What if I just stepped into this? What if we got a home? I was like, we just did that. And I just started stepping into that. And my life started to get bigger after that. I have to say, for that. I guess I just want to throw that out there as well.
No, and I love when you said that, you know, it's a love letter to actors, in what I really got when you said it that time, because you've said it before, and that time it really landed for me. And it's around that: live your life as you're now. Do not put things on hold for yourself. And what I also hear in that is DaJuan's own strength. Like, he saw himself differently. He was able to do more. He became who he needed. He was already who he needed to be, but he saw himself that way as his life got bigger and bigger. And so I think that's just a testament to DaJuan and everyone, but I want to make sure you hear from me that it's testament to what a beautiful journey and modeling of us being able to witness, oh, this is what it can look like. I can see something else than I'm going to be waiting tables forever. I'm going to be a bartender forever. I can see. And so when we get to, I think there's so much power in witnessing. And so I just want to kind of end this around the beautiful witnessing that we can get to do with DaJuan Johnson, of how he is walking the walk and being think bigger and saying think bigger at the same time. And that is not to make him a superhero, though we know he's going to be one on a film, but it's to say that is because I think this is what DaJuan would say, that is possible for every single one of us. And it is who we are every single day. And so as you continue to see yourself that way, that makes more manifest. And we'll get to all the steps. I love how you said, like, I'm going to give you all the steps. Duh, I'll give you all the steps of how to get there. But what I know is you're not going to do it unless we kind of do this stuff first. So can we tend the garden and then we're going to watch it grow? Like, I just love how you really made that very clear, because so often I find creative people are like, what are the answers to how I get there? And then the truth is, oh, if I think this way, suddenly the steps become so much easier. And so I just love that that's where you come from in terms of your coaching and the way you approach your own life and how it has paid off. So thank you.
Because the how shows up, everyone, on a need to know basis. On a need to know. We don't even stay in the why long enough. We don't even stay in the dream long enough, because as soon as we start dreaming about the superhero stuff, our other side, right side of our brain comes in and we're like, but now we have to call Sheriff Fenn. Now we have to all that, when it's just like, you haven't even sat in that beautiful, beautiful dream for a bit.
I love that. I feel like a permission slip was given to all of us to sit in our why and what we want a little bit today, so that we can let the how show up. That's beautiful. I just want to thank you so much for being here today with me, DaJuan. This is such a special conversation. I know you told us think bigger. Is it thinkbiggercoaching.com? Is that right? Great.
Think Bigger Coaching.
Anywhere else?
But thank you for repeating it. Thank you for repeating it.
Absolutely. And I know that we'll be in touch, and I'd love to have you on again. I'll make you just commit to that now. We'll have you on again in the future. How about that?
Can't wait.
All right. Thank you so much, DaJuan. I really appreciate it.